Each year, students on almost every campus in America are affected, contaminated by the growing philosophies of the radical left. And now, through use of today's new media, the left continues to spread its influence. Will we see a march toward European socialism? Or will 2009 mark the beginning of a conservative comeback? You can play a key role in what happens today and perhaps the next 40 years. The Leadership Institute. Campus Reform Now.
What started out as an improbable journey, where nobody gave us a chance, was carried forward, was inspired by, was driven by, was energized by young people all across America.
It was almost entirely a one-sided organizational effort which was extremely skillfully done, targeted to the current generation, which get their communications not from newspapers and television, but online through a wide variety of very popular and increasingly popular mechanisms. They employed these things, these techniques. The conservatives did not.
We're still watching television. We're still reading books. But tens of millions of young people are communicating in a completely different way. The left understands this. That's why the left spent the money to learn how to communicate with young people and look at the end result.
What I'm most fearful of right now is that conservatives are losing a generation. All you have to do is look at the success of Barack Obama's presidential campaign. Look at the online internet donations, the low-dollar ones that fueled all these new people into the movement because simply he was available online. He's building a massive movement online, and we need something to counter that immediately.
It's been a deliberate effort on the part of the left to use the campuses as left-wing indoctrination centers. It's no coincidence that 2/3 of the college-age people in America who voted for Barack Obama. The campuses turn people to the left.
You don't have to look far to find liberal abuses on campus. At New Mexico State University, a humanities professor kicked a Catholic student out of class for defending his religion, while the professor ranted about the oppressive nature of Christianity. At the University of Maine, Orono, another leftist professor offered his students extra credit if they would burn a U.S. flag, burn a copy of the Constitution, or get arrested at a public demonstration. These are just two illustrations of the thousands of cases seen every year.
It seems to me we have a moral obligation to do the best we can to bring up a new generation who are deeply committed to the principles that made this country great.
It is so important to provide students with some kind of conservative viewpoint on campus. When I first got the idea that I might want to start writing for my own publication, which I had to create with the help of people from Leadership Institute because, I couldn't write for the paper because I didn't have the right degree at the time, they said, well, what do you have to wait for? You can go on the internet and do this. And I went to a Leadership Institute school and walked out with my own domain name and ideas for 10 stories. And the next week, I started writing them. But if I was not exposed to other people that did that, knew how to do it, had fun doing it, I would have never thought that I could.
The Leadership Institute is uniquely positioned to launch a 3-part campaign to reclaim this generation called Campus Reform Now. The first part of this effort is to break the liberal monopoly on more college campuses through the Leadership Institute's National Field Program. Part 2 of this campaign calls for the launch of campusreform.org, a pioneering effort to harness the power of the internet to reach conservative young people in the way they communicate today and organize them to fight the left on their campuses.
The truth is that conservatives are using technology of the 20th century and liberals use the technology of the 21st century. They communicate in a completely different way.
I spent a lot of my time on my weekly appearances on the O'Reilly Factor just trying to explain what social networking is. It sounds kind of like this new term that's trendy in Silicon Valley. Social networking is basically just how people talk to each other. It is how they discover other people existing in other communities that think like them. And this is so important to political movements.
It's so important right now for conservatives to embrace this because we're going to be playing defense a lot. And if we're going to organize and rally our troops effectively, we're going to have to be in the places where these young people are gathering.
We know how to get on campus. We know how to organize students conventionally. Now the time has come for us to employ these new technologies which are so exciting to young people and apply them to the public policy process, apply them to the communication of ideas and the organization of conservative activities. It's the most exciting thing that's happened in more than a decade for the Leadership Institute.
CampusReform.org will provide an instant connection for young conservatives across campus or across the nation. And that leads us to part 3. The future success of these programs will require dramatic increases in staff and workspace. Fortunately, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity has come along to cost-effectively double the Institute's workspace without moving.
If this thing expands as I expect it to, there's going to be marvelous opportunities to give more assistance to the conservative activities on college campuses across America. We are to the point now where a project the size of campus reform simply can't be accommodated in our building. And this magnificent opportunity came to us with a construction project that is next door to us on our block. And there are things that we could do that were of great assistance to the developers, and the end result of that is that we have contractual agreements with the developers that we are going to get the second floor of the big office building now under construction beside us.
Prime office real estate, worth $3.8 million in today's market, critically needed space just in time to expand the Leadership Institute's final programs. Available now for a third of its actual value. But seizing this remarkable opportunity requires a substantial payment due the first week of May, just a few weeks away.
If we can set up a way of communicating for young people to communicate with one another on the college campus level, it will revolutionize the world that we live in. The fact that the Leadership Institute is going to take the lead in that direction doesn't surprise me. That's what Leadership Institute does.
In my field of new media and online communications, we're constantly trying to embrace and engage these people who are conservative activists, who simply just don't understand the importance of the new technology. But the training programs that the Leadership Institute offers are so valuable because we teach people how they can use these tools.
Rather than making a phone call or chatting to campus, you will connect students with each other on other campuses, just as simple as sitting down with a computer.
There are millions of young people who are conservatives. They will get the strength and they will get the determination to win in these battlefields if they can communicate with one another.
This is just heaven sent to us, the opportunity to get the space that we would need, and then the opportunity to begin to use these new techniques which are spreading like wildfire among young people, to put them to use for conservative principles. This is truly an exciting time.
Will you help meet this important May deadline and seize this tremendous opportunity? And right now, thanks to a generous matching grant, your contribution can be doubled